So, Kenneth, congratulations. Tell me about the moment when you got the call, when you knew that the Dolphins were selecting you. You were sitting down, standing up, family room, living. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was just, looking at the clock and, it's down to like 4 minutes. I was like, yeah, they might pass me up on this one. But then, I looked down at my phone and my phone's ringing. I was like, oh, snap, it might be real. So, I answered the phone. I'm talking to Chris Greer. And, we're just having a conversation. I was like, you're going to pick me or what? Just a little, it was an actual question, but, a little confidence in me. But, he said, I think he should. So, I was like, yeah, it'd be a great investment. But, after that, just talking to everybody and, my family getting excited when I was off of the phone and hugging everybody and the whole community, I was pretty great, excited.
How many people were there? Were you at your house?
I was at it was like a local sports bar, in my town. It was about like 175 people there. Yeah, so good crowd.
Yeah, just particulars out the way. You prefer Kenneth, Ken, Kenny, or what do you like to go by?
I'll say the easiest is just KG, just because of my name, Kenneth Grant, KG. But I mean, everybody called me Kenny, Ken, whatever. So whatever floats your boat.
What were your first impressions getting to walk around the facility for the first time?
Oh, it's pretty great. You got a real nice facility here. Just I saw the practice field. That was pretty great. I like grass field, but the indoor is pretty great as well. Weight room's real good. It's a all around great facility.
How familiar are you, if at all, with South Florida?
Not familiar at all. Nope. Nope, never been here. First time, yeah.
KG, there's another moment I want to ask you about. The play against Penn State when you hawk down the running back. It's incredible just looking at you now and seeing the size that you have. What does that play say? What do you remember about that play? What does that play say about you, not only as a person, but as a player?
Yeah, so I'll say what I remember about that play. They schemed up a good play, and I was like, once I saw that hole, I was like, oh, he's going to break this loose. So, the center pulled on Mike B, our linebacker, and I actually tried to push him to make the tackle, but then that didn't work out, and then, I had to run down and get him. But, what it entitles with me is, I give that effort every play, whether I'm in there or, coaching guys that's in there, I'm always stressing run to the ball. So, you're always going to get that effort out of me.
When I spoke to Coach Moore earlier today, he said you're always happy, you always have a smile on your face, except when you cross the white lines. Something changes. What changes?
It's game time. I mean, whether it's practice or in the game, I'm always ready to go because on the field, it's no friends, to be honest. So, I mean, everybody's trying to get their individual goals, so you're not going to let another man take your goal. That's how I think of it.
Kenneth, I want to ask you about dealing with expectations. You're a first-round pick. This is a team that really needs some D-line help. Do you think about that a lot, that, I have to be the man or I have to get out here and play well, or just another day, do what I do? How do you deal with the pressure or the expectations?
Yeah, like you said, there's obviously pressures and expectations, but, I got to live up to those pressures and expectations. Chris Greer, Coach Mike, and Coach Austin Clark, they obviously got high expectations of me, so, they're going to help me. It's a two-way street, so, ultimately, but I ultimately want to take control and be a key contributor.
Was there a moment in your childhood where you always dreamed the NFL was a possibility?
Yeah, I've always played Pee Wee football and Pop Warner football, so, I mean, I was always watching NFL, having NFL parties with my family, just watching football, so we're a heavily involved football family, so, I mean, just NFL has always been on my mind for sure.
Do you have a leader in the clubhouse for jersey number?
For jersey number, I'm thinking 90 right now. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. I was gonna go 94, but I want to be my own person instead of getting the same number as Wilkes.
Dolphins already made their second-round pick, big Jonah S. from Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the maybe interior offensive line battles that'll come from you two rookies?
Oh yeah, it'd be pretty good. I met him at I took a visit. I forgot another organization, but I met him. Good dude. You could tell he loves ball. He's a big guy too, so he can come off the rock.
One of your teammates just went off the board to Arizona, Will Johnson. A little later than a lot of people thought. What makes him, I guess, uniquely qualified to bounce back from a slide like this?
Yeah, he's just an ultimate competitor. You know, whatever he's doing, whether it's on or off the field, you know, he's always, you know, I even go over his house sometimes. He's in his iPad watching film. So, you know, when he steps on the field, he's always gonna be ready schematic wise. But, you know, he's a dog, bro. Like injury or not, he's a dog. He's gonna power through it and, you know, hit you for real. So.
When we spoke to you last night, you mentioned one of your goals being winning the Super Bowl, which you hear from draft picks quite often. But you also mentioned Man of the Year, which you don't hear from draft picks so often. What drives you toward that goal, and what have you done so far that maybe helps the communities where you play?
I mean, you know, reason why I want to be a Man of the Year, one of my favorite players, Cam Jordan, DN on the Saints. You know, he's just a great person. You know, in general, helping the community, helping people in need. You know, he's a great football player. So I mean, who doesn't want to be a great person and a great football player? It only boosts you. But I mean, from my standpoint, I just want to be a good role model in my community, from where I grew up from. You know, show those guys that it's a way out and you can make it. You know, I'm living proof. But from a Super Bowl standpoint, you know, I think I'm a culture changer for sure. You know, being from Maryville, before I went to Maryville, we were 1-9. You know, then right after that, we went 4 straight semi-states. Then Michigan, you know, going to Michigan, never beaten Ohio State before. Then, you know, a year before I got there, we won it. And then when I got there, we carried on that legacy. So, you know, I think I'm a culture changer for a winning culture for sure.
I was going to ask you about that. At Michigan, you guys went from good to great. Do those lessons translate to the NFL, and what are some of the lessons, you know, hard work or whatever, what can translate, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, every season is a lesson because every season is not the same. You know, if it's in college or the NFL, I mean, you just got to, whatever lesson it is that season, you got to hone into that and know your identity of what the team is and how you're going to, you know, be better within the team. I'll say just some of the lessons, you know, you can't take a day off because if you take a day off, that's another opportunity another team is getting better. So, you know, you always want to be on your P's and Q's and bring it every day.
Is there something you'd like to buy?
I said on the ESPN thing, I wanted to buy a pond. I'm big on fishing. Dad's always took me fishing, so I kind of embarked on that. So that's one of my main hobbies.
Did you say pond?
A pond, yeah.
Watch out for the alligator.
Oh yeah, that too. I've never seen an alligator before, so a little worried about that. Oh wow.
Kenneth,
When did you, like, to follow up on a question that they asked earlier, at what point do you remember when you thought, hey, NFL is a realistic possibility for me? Like, everybody can aspire to it, but then there's a point where it's like, oh, you're on the radar.
Yeah, I'll say when I got my first offer at the end of my freshman year in high school, I got my first offer from Western Bowling Green. Actually, got my first offer there, and I was like, you know, they pulled me out in the middle of the class. They pulled me out. I was like, wow, like if you're pulling me out in the middle of class, I must be, you know, got a lot of talent and can make it. So that's kind of when I thought I, you know, take the next step.
your new defensive coordinator now is a former NFL defensive lineman himself, Anthony Weaver. What do you think you can learn from him, and what's your impression of him, if you've met him already?
My impression of him, he's a great guy, you know, easy to talk to, but obviously he's going to coach you hard. You know, he wants to win as well, so he's going to hold me to a high expectation and a high standard. But, you know, I think I can learn a lot from him, kind of running some of the similar stuff, but, you know, his type of style and, you know, what I could add to my game within the scheme.
You talked about being a culture changer, and Mike yesterday, he said that you make the players around you better. How do you do that? How do you, come onto a team and make the people around you better?
Yeah, you have to challenge them. First off, I think challenge them off the field because, you know, challenging them on the field is, you know, it's easy because you're competing in football, but off the field you want to hold your teammates accountable and, you know, get the best out of them off the field because off the field things can translate to on the field, so it kind of works hand in hand.
I'm wondering if you listen to critics. There are people that were saying that Mason Graham made a lot of the success for you. He made your life easier. There were people that were saying that you were probably going to go in the 20s, not number 13. Do you listen to that? Do you use it as fuel? Do you just disregard it? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I just disregard it. I mean, sometimes it just pops up on my phone just because I'm on my phone. But, you know, I mean, who doesn't want to use it as fuel? Because, as someone doubting you, you want to prove them wrong. That's kind of the type of person I am. I want to prove everybody wrong and be like, oh, that was a great pick. So.
Are you willing to be a goal line fullback or, go in there on offense? Have you ever done that?
Hey, I'm willing to do anything. Yeah, Coach Moore, we had like a little scheme or whatever where I'm running the rock or whatever, but, whatever coaches here want me to do, I'm willing to do it.
You didn't get to carry it in college?
Nah, I did.
Last 24 hours been for you? Have you been able to get any sleep, or what's been going through?
Yeah, I've been trying to prioritize sleep just because, it was a quick turnaround. They wanted me to fly out here. I wanted to come out here the next day. So, just prioritize the sleep and, just trying to stay off my phone and, be in the moment and enjoy it with my family for sure.
How important is it to have your family be with you here and experience this with you?
Yeah, it's really important, to be honest, just because, they never experienced this, just like I've never experienced this to this magnitude, but, all their sacrifices and the hard work they've put in supporting me and things like that, it's just great to give it back to them and have them here with me.
How far it's Merrillville?
Yeah, Maryville.
From Gary.
It's literally the same town, train tracks, literally same town, yeah.
As soon as I heard, I saw both, but as soon as I heard Gary, I had to ask, you listen to Freddie Gibbs at all?
Nah, I haven't.
No. Introduce us to your family here.
Yes, this is my mom, Awana Chapman. It's my mom. Then you got my stepdad right here, Darren Chapman. Then you have Pat, my stepmom, and then here's my dad on the end, Kenneth Grant Sr.
It's hot in training camp. Are you ready for that?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Who doesn't like hot? You can't beat it.
Kenneth, one of the ways you disrupt the passing game that maybe a lot of people wouldn't look at as the first thing that comes to mind is getting your hand up and batting balls down. I was surprised when I saw how many PBUs you have. What gives you the knack to do that?
Just being smart and savvy. If I'm taking on a double team and I'm hard getting there trying to win, I'm gonna put a hand up once the quarterback's in his throwing motion. So it's just being able to get a good feeling of how the timing of the quarterback is, and every quarterback is different. They don't have the same timing, but you have to study and know their weaknesses and things like that.
Final question. Curious about your shirt. Can you explain what that means?
It's Hellstar, so it's just like a little designer shirt. It's been blowing up, so I like the colors, I like the style of it, so I bought it.